How are you doing? Wednesday night again, here on String, or as we like to call it when the bluegrass is playing, String Theory. The live YouTube show where you ask the questions and we give the answers on all things concerning all things stringed. Want to say a big shout out to our partners, G&G Music, Glen Gotel up in Antigonish, Boucher Guitars, Levy Straps, K&K Sound, Recording King, Gallagher Guitars, and our Yamaha Guitars, and our newest partner. They've been around since the beginning, but they're coming in strong tonight. Fantasy Music in Halifax. Steve McNeil and the boys, not the Premier, down in Halifax there on Spring Garden Road, and yeah. So there we go. Wednesday night, and Jack's coughing, and I got my Sober Island. I think this is Sober Island, but it's in a Gallagher guitar sleeve because I'm special.
That's what he likes to think.
Says me. Anyhow, we're here, and we are here. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Here we are.
Yeah. How you guys doing? It's good to see you again. If you love this channel and you like what you see here, hit subscribe, hit notification bell. If you want to hit the tip jar, that's all down below. And if you want to check out Master Music Method, my online school, the icon is right there. You can click that, go on over to Master Music Method, get your learning on. So yeah, we have a lineup, which doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. What do we got? Who's first?
Well, first is Cam, because he gave us a very generous super chat. Wondering what your favorite color is.
Well, Cam, because it's a super chat question, I'm forced to answer it. So, and plus you're Cam.
That is the super chat. He must answer the super chat.
So, my favorite color is what's in this String Theory mug right there. And whatever color Dalmore 20-year-old is, that's my favorite color. I'll let you know how the color tastes. Yeah, that's my favorite color. So there you go. All right. Thanks, Cam. We love you. You're the man. He's here. If you guys, I'm sure you guys all talk to him on there, and he's a tremendous supporter of ours, and can't thank you enough, buddy. So, yeah. Well, who's next on the agenda? With your own special mic over there now. That's right. The ginger mic. Ginger. We don't have ginger vision. We just have ginger audio. I brought my own fog machine.
This might not be first, but the first one I can see has a lot of chatter. We got Caper Away.
Caper Away. Good to see you again.
He's wondering, out of all your Yamaha acoustic guitars, what is your favorite?
Well, my favorite Yamaha that I own is my 50th anniversary FG180. It's a Canon. It's a killer guitar, and I went through quite a bit to get my hands on it. And as you guys might have noticed, or if you're anybody who's not watching, doesn't watch the channel regularly, Yamaha has been making quite a few appearances around here lately. But that's nothing new, because I've been using their guitars for my entire life. And when that anniversary model came out, I really got excited, because I knew, these guitars would be built in Hamamatsu, Japan, and there's only the rumor is that there's only 180 of them ever made. So I was thinking, well, I really got to try hard to get one of these guitars, because I may never get another chance. And I was lucky enough, I started to call around, and I found one at Tony's Music Box up in Fredericton. If you ever want to see a really, really killer store, it's another Boucher dealer too, by the way. So Tony's Music Box in Fredericton, New Brunswick. They have some killer guitars up there. Not only Yamaha. They carry Boucher, Taylor, I think Martin to a certain extent. I'm not sure if they get any of the big Martins up there, but it's a really cool store. And the guy that runs it is salt of the earth and such a nice man, a kind-hearted guy. And yeah, so I called up and I said, have you got this guitar? And he said, I absolutely do. And I said, well, I want it, so don't sell it. I'm coming there right away. And I literally jumped in I was living in Westville at the time. I literally jumped in my car and drove, I don't know, whatever that, 4 hours or 5 hours from there to Fredericton immediately. And actually filmed myself picking it up. I took a buddy of mine. I said, you got to film this. And we filmed it. We filmed me going in the store and getting the guitar. And I'll never regret that. That guitar will be, placed with me in my Viking funeral float when they set me on fire out here in the lake.
I think it's my idea.
Yeah, well, we're going to both do
It's
it.
my burial idea.
If I die first, you got to shoot the arrows and vice versa. We got this all planned out from watching Merlin. We binge watched the Merlin series.
Coming to the end of Netflix.
Yes. Who's next?
He actually should have been first because I missed it, but it's Ian Rossiter.
Hey, Ian. Good to see you again, buddy.
What is your approach / concept to ornamentations of melody?
Huh. Well, that's kind of an interesting question. Always get good questions on this show, and that's really not something that's been asked. But if you go to Master Music Method, you'll find, if you go there and kind of browse through what I do, I continually make mention of the encyclopedia that's in someone's head. And that encyclopedia is built by learning licks off of other people, right? You have to learn a certain amount of other people's playing and technique, and like your favorite players. Just, you don't have to stick with one. Just, you can go for anybody. And you might have, okay, let's put it this way. You might have 6 tunes that you want to learn. And all 6 tunes are by 6 different players. So what you're going to end up doing in that case, if you learn all 6 of those tunes, you're going to end up learning a small snippet of their palette of technique. And as you do that, if you pay close attention to what they're doing, and you end up using the ornaments that they use, and you can successfully copy them, which sometimes isn't that easy. Those things will go in your encyclopedia. So we're all a byproduct of that, of how we learn and then the players we listen to. So when I learn a new tune, or which I do occasionally, learn is a bad word for me, as I don't learn anything. I'm to the point now where I can just play anything I hear. So if I hear something I like, and I'll play around with it, and I often don't really try that hard to copy anybody's version, because I've already spent 46 years storing all these ideas in my head. So when I take any melody, I have a palette of things that I like to use in my brain. And so when I'm ornamenting something or playing anything, the ornaments I choose just come out automatically based on that palette, that encyclopedia of information I have in my head. And that's the same way for every player. So the more, if you want to, if you're playing, it's Ian asked this, right?
Yeah.
So Ian, if you're playing something and you feel like you might not be ornamenting it as good as you could, the problem isn't your immediate playing abilities. The problem is you need to learn more. You need to learn more stuff from other players that you admire. So if you hear a guy doing something that really gets you going, you should learn a couple of his tunes or his translations, if you will. So that your encyclopedia gets filled up with some of his stuff, and then, or listen, if you're learning a tune, you listen to a whole bunch of people play it, a whole bunch of different people, and you pick the ornamentation you want out of that. And the more you build that list of possibilities, that palette that you're painting the picture with, the easier it will be to ornament stuff successfully, instead of having ornaments sound like shit, which sometimes they do for everybody, right? When you pick the wrong one, or you're trying to do something that doesn't quite fit in the measure, or you over ornament, which happens sometimes. People put too much icing on the cake, right? So that's sort of my take on it. It's all about what you listen to, who you learn, and the stuff you retain by playing their stuff, and then taking the parts that you like and applying it to what you do yourself. And that's how I do it. That's all. I don't really have a set of choices that I make every time, or a predetermined way I'm going to do something. When the tune is played, it hits me a certain way, and that's what comes out. And it may be different every time I perform it. That's the other thing, is because I have so many things in the encyclopedia. Sometimes I'll just play it real plain, or I feel like, oh, this would be nice, and I do the thing, whatever that thing is, right? And that's all there is to it. It's practice, and repetition, and imitation, for the most part. And it's very difficult to hide burping when you're in a room full of microphones, just so you know.
Just blame Jack.
And plus the Jack is snoring. So, yeah. But when you're drinking the old Beachstone Bitter out of your Gallagher sleeve, it's a gassy beer. It's very gassy. Okay, what do you got?
Cam has another super chat question.
Oh boy, what's he want now? What color's my underwear?
No. How much did that hat cost, and is it returnable? There's a lot of chatter about the hat. There's very mixed feelings.
Oh, this is one of my stage hats.
It's a divisive hat.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of hats. Trust me. I don't know where I bought. I think I bought this in Toronto at Bootmaster. And
it's kind of like if Slash went bluegrass.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap. I can tell you that much. It was an expensive hat. It's made it a kangaroo.
Poor kangaroo.
Yeah, poor kangaroo. But it's made it a kangaroo. And yeah, I like it. I've worn it on stage many times.
It's a good stage hat.
So
I told him it looks like
I'm just trying to, pull a rabbit out of it. This. I am not that entertaining, so you got to give me something. If I can't wear a stupid hat, I mean, what else am I going to do to make you laugh? I mean, I got nothing. The hat's it, right?
Some people love the hat.
Okay, all right. How much did Cam pay me to insult my hat?
$50.
What? He didn't.
He did.
Okay, well, insult away, old man.
He earned every last insult of the hat.
Okay, well, you're allowed. You don't have to super chat anymore. You can just put regular insults up, Cam. We'll take them all under consideration.
Oh dear.
Who's next?
Joe.
Brother Joe. Jeez, I'm sitting there looking at my uncle, Uncle Joe. I watch him sometimes. He's up there. I have a picture of him up there by one of the room mics, and I watch him. He said he watches the whole studio for us. Yeah.
Joe asked, "What is wadding?"
What is? Are you kidding me?
No, that's what he said.
Oh my God! I see a lot of the participants in tonight's program are already shit-faced. Oh, okay. Well, I have to explain this. Because it's one of our. Joe's doing this to me just for fun. There was a show on TV years ago. This is nothing to do with string theory, but I have to do it. There was a show on TV years ago with William Conrad. Remember Cannon? And they had a show called Jake and the Fat Man. And there was a murder, and they had the evidence, and there was a piece of material that the guy shot the fella. This piece of material was found on the scene, in from the shell of the gun. And William Conrad at one point, the guy said, "You'll never catch me. You don't have enough evidence." And William Conrad went, "You forgot about the wadding." So we've been doing that for 25 or 30 years now. Wadding. So that's what wadding is.
Wadding.
You forgot about the wadding. Only William Conrad could do that. Okay.
Oh dear.
Okay, so if you see any more suspect questions there, don't ask them.
Well, sometimes I didn't know that was suspect.
It's good, though.
I don't know all your inside jokes with your brothers.
Oh, God. Wadding.
I'm easy prey.
Yes, okay.
Next is Scott McCone.
Hey, Scotty. Scott's got a new movie coming out.
Oh, yeah?
And I watched some of the trailer, and it's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
He says, it's another not so serious question.
Oh, boy.
Asking for a friend.
That's never good.
Never a good sign. If the song Another Morning gets stuck in one's head for 7 or more days, can the songwriter be sued for unlawful cranial habitation?
Yes. Yes, probably. That's a terrible thing to get that song stuck in your head. Jeez. All right, who's next?
Oh, I gotta find it here.
There's going to be something serious there somewhere.
This is from Roy Sandoval.
Roy, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Have you played a pre-war company guitar yet?
A pre-war company guitar. I'm not sure what that means.
Is there a company named Pre-War?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. Clarify that.
Or
if you're talking about
one made pre-war.
Yeah, have I ever played a pre-war guitar? No, never. They're so hard to find, for one thing, and then secondly, I would never own one because I can't afford it, and secondly, I wouldn't trust it to stay together. Like, I mean, my touring, or what I was, and not anymore, it doesn't matter anymore, but the way that I traveled, I don't think a pre-war instrument would even survive. Like, the amount of heat and cold and just abuse that my instruments are able to take and sustain. I mean, yeah, I mean, I know all kinds of people tour with them, but I wouldn't. I couldn't do it. I would be terrified to destroy it, and I'd also be really worried that I'd get to a gig and something would have failed or cracked or fallen apart, or I just couldn't do it. Not with a clear conscience, especially something like that that's worth so much money. No, I wouldn't do it. But that's just me.
Apparently Pre-War Guitars is a brand of guitars built in the USA.
No, I've never even heard of them. I'm going to write that down.
That's what... That information came from Boucher.
I will find that. Pre-war. Obviously, they must be instruments based on designs prior to 1945, like the old, the Martins from the 30s and the Gibsons from the 30s and stuff. So yeah, I'll look into that. Pre-war guitars. I'll have that information for you next week. I will. The way things are going right now, there's a lot of companies interested in having me review their instruments. So I may start putting feelers out to some of these companies that I don't know and see if they're interested in loaning me something for a little while so I can do reviews on them, because I think that would be very interesting for me, especially because I just love guitars so much. But for you guys and my all my subscribers, that's pretty, there's a lot of these, and we keep hearing about this stuff on String Theory. There's always somebody saying, have you heard of that? Have you heard of this? And this is probably the third or fourth company I've been that's been given to us on String Theory that I don't know about. So yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I might even reach out to them and tell you what they said by next week and see what happens.
Yeah.
So there you go. Who's next?
Curtis Tate.
Curtis Tate. Mm-hmm. That's a new name.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay, Curtis. Nice to have you aboard on String Theory.
What model Eastman mandolin is that behind you?
This little beauty is one of my favorite instruments that I've ever owned. This is an MD 615. And I actually have a pair of these. One of them's an F and one of them's an A. And they're both just smoking. I haven't played yet today, so.
Excuses.
Yeah, but anyhow, that's an MD 615. And frankly, I've never seen this Eastman before. I haven't seen it since. I bought it in Toronto. It's not a model I was aware of, and I went there a few months later to do something, and I looked in the wall, and it was the same mandolin as an A style, and I bought that one too. And I think I paid $3,000 for both of them. That's how like they're not expensive, and it's the best mandolin I've ever owned. I just love that thing. It just talks, and it's gonna. They both came with K&K pickups installed, which was another huge plus. So yeah, the MD 615, and I'm not sure what the model number is on the A, but it's obviously a 615 too. I think just a different two letters at the beginning, I would think. But yeah, with the nice ebony pickguard installed, like wooden floating pickguard. It's hand carved, just beautiful instrument. Look at the back of it. Just a beautiful piece of maple in that. Incredible. And loud. I've seen all the red lights come on when I started playing it here. It's too close to the mic. But it's really loud. So, yeah. Who's next?
I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this properly, but Sibdad? Maybe?
Side?
It's
Side, what?
I think it's just a YouTube handle name.
Yes.
Hey,
And doggos.
Just protecting the house. What's your opinion of the Boucher HG66 maple body? I like the maple as a tone wood, however they don't seem common, and I have seen no reviews of the HG66. No Boucher dealers in Calgary.
Now this is where my ignorance is going to show, because I don't pay very much attention to numbers when it comes to Boucher. I'm thinking that, and maybe Guillaume can tell us. I'm thinking that the 66 is a jumbo body. Maybe Guillaume can jump in and tell us that.
See what's going.
And if it is the jumbo body you're talking about, I have one. I have a maple jumbo.
000 12 fret.
Oh, really? Whoa. Well, Boucher makes the best small body guitar on the planet. So there's no way you could possibly go wrong buying it doesn't matter what he makes it out of. The only difference you're going to find out is that he treats maple in a very unique way. He colors it just differently than anybody else. It has a champagne kind of color to it. It's not the normal blonde kind of boring thing. His finish on maple is absolutely breathtaking. And a small body, a 12 fret Boucher out of maple would just be incredible. It would be probably louder than anything you've ever heard, just because it's maple. It would have a nice midpoint on it, and it would have a lot of bottom end, because all his small body guitars are just cannons. Like my signature model is a triple O guitar, and I chose that body because it's got the most bang for the buck. Even with a 12 fret neck, mine has a cutaway, and I've got 3 of Robin's small body guitars, and they're all absolutely ridiculous. So I've never seen one built out of maple. I'd be curious to see that, because I have his maple jumbo, and it's a behemoth. So I would think that, and that's too bad you don't have any dealers in Calgary. That amazes me. There was a dealer in Calgary, but it's gone now. I think they closed. The whole store closed.
Glen Ships.
What's that?
Glen Ships.
Yes, that's true. Glenn Gotel could help you out if you want to go to G&G Music. You know, what's his? It's gngmusic.ca, right?
G&G Music Store.
Oh, gngmusicstore.com?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yes. But Glenn has access to probably more Bouchers than anybody right now, and also fantasy music. And Halifax has is like for some reason we do a lot of business with Boucher in the East Coast here. So some of the most unique guitars of Robin's end up coming here. So you'd either want to check out Fantasy. It's spelled Fantasie, like the French spelling. I think that's how it's spelled in French. And I could be wrong about that. I'm not exactly bilingual. And I speak enough French to get in a fight. That's about it. And you could check out Fantasy or Glen. And barring that, I would go directly to Boucher. Just go to the site. Guillaume will talk to you. And there's no reason why they couldn't build you, whatever you want. They will do that. But there's a waiting list because the guitars are so popular that no one can keep them. And it's been difficult over the last few months just trying to keep stock because everyone is buying them. And because they're the best guitars being made on the planet right now, as far as I'm concerned. For the money, you can't do any better. If you bought a similar guitar from any of the big builders, Collings or Bourgeois, or any of those high end guys, you're going to pay about $3,000 or $4,000 more for the same instrument virtually. So yeah, so I check it out. Just don't give up on it. I wouldn't give up on it. It's worth fighting to get one, and waiting for one. If you want one built out of maple, get it done. You won't be sorry. Okay, who's next?
Acoustic Guitar Canada.
All right, my buddies.
Do you recommend using Quartify or any other program / software? Quartify.
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
Quartify?
Yeah.
Another thing to look up. I'm assuming that this must be a teaching tool.
Well, Joe's response was you can download any chord chart to any tuning, so I'm assuming it has something to do with
so it's a transposition tool as well.
that.
I don't know anything about it. I would have no reason to access something like that, but I'll look it up. There's many tools now online for everything under the sun, whether it be scales, chords, ear training. You got, what's that new one? Musician. There's so many things, and they end up as ads on my videos. A lot of teaching tools go on my videos to advertise. But I'll look that up. I'll tell you next week what I find out. I'll go and check it out. I'm assuming it must be probably an app or something like that, like the other ones are.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Cool. Who's next?
The Happy Knot.
The Happy Knot. Back again.
It says, a few weeks ago I asked a question about Otis Thomas. Seems like artists like him and Robin don't get the platform they deserve. Would you consider having luthiers on your channel or going to their shops?
Oh, absolutely. I just can't do it because of COVID. But I absolutely would go and do work especially with Robin. And I haven't seen Otis in a number of years, but I know right where he lives. And I've been in his shop numerous times, and yeah, absolutely. I think that as things progress, we're not really going to be able to stop doing this because we've had so much success with it. There's really no way to stop. So we're probably going to end up, when COVID turns us loose, whenever that might be, you can probably count on seeing string theory on the road quite a bit because there's so many people I'd like to show you, and places I could go, like Robin's and like Otis's and Johannes Sturm, and somebody mentioned Crosby to me the other night. I'd like to go see him again. I haven't seen him in years. And that new builder that's up in Pictou County that's really doing well as far as I can tell. I haven't played his guitars, but people say they're amazing. So Absolutely. Yeah, there's no reason why. And plus, if COVID ever, if when it really busts a loose and we get turned loose of this shit, I'll be going down to see David and the boys down in Gallagher in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They have an online platform, like they have a performance space there in the shop, and so I'm hoping to go down there, and I'll probably end up integrating that a trip like that into string theory as well, or even just a video on its own. But string theory would be a riot to do string theory live from Gallagher or live from Robbins, or that would be incredible. So
Or just a separate show entirely.
yeah, yeah, it could be. But I mean, we're taking a lot of direction from you guys, so it's like that. We're just this turned out to be something much larger than we thought it would be. So yes, absolutely, you're going to see those things as soon as we can travel safely. So there you go. Good question. And now I've made a whole bunch of commitments that I can't break. So there goes
But you
the
have lots
touring
of time
schedule.
because we're still trapped in our house.
That's right.
Yeah. Next up is Tim Bennett from India this
Tim
time.
Bennett is in India, not in Taiwan anymore. Mm-hmm. Down in India. Atta boy.
He asks, other than playing the correct notes at the right time, what are the key factors in making your guitar playing musical?
Wow. I don't have enough time to answer that question. But it's a great question, and it's the one that every single guitar player should be asking themselves. I talked about this in this week's Life and Music episode. When I was in the first few months that I was in Alabama working for the Sullivan family, I learned a valuable lesson while I was there, and it was basically when not to play. And that's one of the things that makes your playing musical, because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody who plays and it's obvious that their technical ability is high, but they're like a bear cub playing with their dink. Like they're like handing a baby a loaded Magnum revolver. Like they have all the tools, but they don't know where to aim any of it, right? And what takes that out of the bullshit realm and into actual musicality is knowing when to shut up, to stop playing, and do something meaningful, which could be as little as one or two notes, and relying on the musicality of your actual instrument. Because if you let a guitar do what it does best, it has the tone and the resonance and the sustain and the projection to do something brilliant, but you have to let it. You can't just keep pounding away and play as many notes as you can and hope for the best. That's not music. Music is exactly what you're asking, Tim. It's fine to know where the notes are and when to play, and when to how to attack them and release them. But it's another thing altogether to know when to make the choice to play one note and let it ring for 2 or 3 beats, or play a note and let it ring a beat, another note, let it ring a beat. And you know what I mean? Like there's all this subtlety, and that's what creates music. If you listen, the greatest guitar player that ever lived was Django Reinhardt. And the reason he was the greatest guitar player ever lived, and everybody will tell you that, not only did he play guitar with 2 fingers, is all he had, but because he had only 2 fingers, he had to devise ways to do things differently. And so he would play phrases that were like, da-da-da-ba, and hold a one thing, and stop it where you weren't expecting it to stop, and then there would be a space that you were going, wait, what? Oh, and it's not coming back in. Oh, wait a minute now, and then all of a sudden, he hits you. he knew how to utilize the space, right? And that's what musicality is. It's when you can make all these choices sort of on the fly that transport the listener somewhere else, because they're used to hearing a bunch of 16th notes, digga 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 endlessly, right? If you break that apart, and don't play strings of 16ths, play play 5 or 6 or 8, and then a couple of quarters, and a half note, and you know what I mean, like those, and also, of course, the notes you choose are important. So, and that can be decided by all sorts of parameters, like what key you're in, what chord you're working out of, whether or not your guitar has a capo on it or not. If you're working out of open tunings, if you're working out of, all these things have to be considered, right? And then you just got to boil it down to, don't be playing your ass off all the time. That's not good. It isn't. It's impressive, but it's not musical. And the only guy that there's a lot of guys, but I mean, when I think of guys that did it and pulled it off, I think of Jerry Reed. Because Jerry Reed would just be relentless, but that was part of his musicality. He was relentless. When he played something like Jerry's Breakdown or different things that he did like that, they were relentless. They were just like, and that was the musicality of it, because what he was doing was so impossible sounding that your brain just about blew up trying to figure out what he was doing. And then at other times he would play things that were so cleverly timed and with holes that you weren't expecting, right? So he knew how to use both angles. And he's one of the only guys who ever did. He knew how to play a million 16th notes so fast that you'd just be going, how is that possible? And coaxing all this melody out of it. Then the next thing you know, he'd break out of that and go into this, like he could sing everything he played, which is another thing. If you can sing what you're picking, that changes things, because singing is more musical than playing. Because you can't really do things with your voice that you can on a guitar. You can, obviously, but I mean, you wouldn't. So if you sing a line and can play what you're singing, that's another way to create musicality, to find out where the hole should be, almost, So, yeah, that's a massively good question. And you could write a thesis on that. I'm only just chipping away at the very tip of the iceberg. Like, there's so many more opinions and viewpoints on that, because it's different for every single musician. And, if we were to sit down, if it was possible, God bless his heart, if we were able to sit down with Joe Pass, or Joe Pass was a god of musicality, right? Or Joe Venuti or Django Reinhardt. I'm listing a lot of jazz players because they were awesome. Jazz is like that. Dave Brubeck, like those guys that had such clever ideas that were filled with holes. And the holes were not where you thought they would be, right? If we could talk to those guys, oh man, the information that we could get. And Chet was another guy that just always just knew when to play and when not to play, and when to go crazy and when to lay way back, right? And I learned what I know about it from being a sideman, because you have to learn to get out of the way. That's the big thing, right? So when I was learning, I was judged upon how invisible I was as a sideman, and that was the main objective, was to be invisible, to just make the leaders sound better and not draw any attention to myself, right? Like, that was the idea. You just do the part. When you need to get out, you get out. And if you get a chance to step up, you do it, and you make it count, because it might only be 20 or 30 seconds. Get in, and come in strong and play your thing, make it interesting, and get the hell out strong. Come in strong, get out strong, and then go back to being invisible. That's the trait of a sought after sideman. You wouldn't think so sometimes. You'd think you'd want the hottest player in the world, which some people do, right? You know, look at Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder. All those guys are tremendous soloists. But at the same time, they also know when to get the hell out of his way, right? So, yeah, it's a tremendous question and something you could just talk about for days because there's so much to it. But yeah, brilliant question. Brilliant question. I hope any of that helps you. And just do your research. Go find, some of the people I'm mentioning and listen to what they're doing and go, wow. Because you will. Your brain will just go, ooh, there's some things I never thought of. And that's the beauty of music in the first place. So, yeah. God, that's a good question. A lot of information there.
Another super chat question.
Who's that from?
Someone whose YouTube name I unfortunately cannot pronounce.
That's okay.
But they're wondering, it seems that Dreadnoughts are considered the best sounding, but are there any tone advantages that triple O's would have over Dreadnoughts?
Oh, absolutely. To make a long story short. Okay, let me put it this way. If I'm recording here in the studio and I'm using this Aston Origin mic, which is one of the truest, the most realistic condenser microphone, large diaphragm condenser I have ever used in my life. I actually bought a second one. I bought a limited edition. I bought a black one. They're so good, it's not even funny. They're unbelievable, the quality that these things have. And the reason I love them is because they have no color. They sound exactly like what's going in, and they have this massive field of capture. So if I was recording guitars in here with this microphone, and I picked up a Dreadnought and played a part like a solo or rhythm, I would have to carve out the bottom end of that guitar to make it sound good in a recording. I would probably have to, pretty well high pass it at about 50 hertz, and then I would have to probably pull out 125 hertz and 225 and 250 just a little bit, because there's a Dreadnought has all this bottom, which is not good in a recording, right? Or even through a microphone on stage. It's the thing that feeds back the most, is the bottom end of a flat top guitar. Okay, so if I picked up an OM or a triple aught body style, right, like Robbins or even my new Series 11 Recording King, those guitars I wouldn't have to carve out the bottom end, but there'd still be plenty of bottom in there, but it's all the nice frequencies, right? And so I guess what I'm saying to you is a Dreadnought is like a Dreadnought is like having the whole menu at Olive Garden, right? All of it. Everything on the menu is there. You get it, all of it. Some of that stuff you don't want. And an OM mid-size body, like the OM triple, or like an OM double, or whatever OM is what I call it, like a mid-size. Recording King calls them triple O's and single O's, but Boucher calls them an OM, orchestra model, right? The mid-size body, 14 fret neck. Those guitars have the whole menu, except they have all the fattening stuff taken out, right? They have the bottom end, but it's clean, and it projects and cuts more than a Dreadnought does. And then when you get into the super small bodies, like these single O's or a triple O guitar, like my signature model, and I shouldn't use that as an example because it's a freak. It has frequencies it shouldn't even have. The really super small bodies, their bottom end starts way higher in the spectrum. So, for my personal taste and what I do as an artist, I don't prefer Dreadnoughts. I love dreadnoughts and I use them all the time, but I gravitate to smaller bodies because they're more controlled. You have more control over what comes out of them. You can create bottom end in them because they have the capability, but it's not something that's just always there ringing and muddying up your playing. And then we have, I pick up my Boucher Dreadnought or one of my Yamaha Dreadnoughts. Their guitar, like Robin's guitars and these Yamaha, like my 50th anniversary 180. Those guitars, like they sound, the bottom end sounds so good and so clean. You can get away with it. It's so clean. It doesn't have mud. It just has this beautiful bottom rib, crashing bottom end, right? And it's hard to find. Most dreadnoughts, if like a typical Martin, has this huge booming bottom end, which is great if you're playing in a bluegrass band or something like that, where you can get away with putting all that bottom into the stereo image, into the sonic image, right? But if you want something that's more versatile, almost, it can do every job. It can do the job of a dreadnought because it does have the bottom end, just not the muddy bottom. And it has better mids and highs, like sparkling highs, crisp highs. A dreadnought doesn't really have that. A dreadnought has a thick high end, which is also beautiful. Like I can't say anything bad about any of the body sizes, but depending on what you want it for, you may be happier with a mid-sized body guitar rather than a dreadnought, because a dreadnought, at a certain point, becomes a one-trick pony. It's just this huge, massive sonic palette of every frequency, and if it's not by the right builder, the bottom end becomes a problem. And I'll give you another good example. My Gallagher I just got has the most beautiful bottom end. Like it's a full-size dreadnought guitar, but it's gorgeous. The way that thing sounds it sounds like a Gallagher. They're not like anything else. It has this deep ringing bottom end, right? And it's a freak, but you're not going to find those kind of freaks all the time. So I hope that helps you. And it's also so subjective, right? What you want it for and what you expect it to sound like, and how you want it to inspire, or what you're doing, whether it be recording or writing or learning, all those things, right? So, but generally speaking, your dreadnought's going to have the biggest sonic palette, and the OM's going to have the same palette but controlled, and then smaller bodies than that will have the same palette, but a little bit more shaved off the bottom, and maybe a prettier middle than an OM, and a nice, if it's the right builder, a nice thick high end, right? So yeah, I hope that helps. Those subjective questions are tough because everybody loves something different, and I can pick up 10 guitars of different bodies and love all of them, right? It just depends on what day of the week it is, really, and what you're planning to do with it. So, who's next?
Russell Howe.
Russell.
It says, on the live fiddle set, I noticed you were all tuned down below standard pitch. What is the reason?
Funny you should ask that. Let me just have a swig of string theory. Okay, well, I don't want to make this too long a story. So, prior to the mid 30s, instruments were tuned to something around 432 kilohertz. Is it kilohertz? Yeah, 432 instead of 440. It was around 432. So that would make your A string be almost a B flat, or I mean an A flat. Not quite. It's a little sharper than A flat. So the Nazis decided that concert music would sound more intense and indeed frightening and more urgent if everything was tuned higher. And they were very into numerology and all these things, and so they didn't like this odd, weird number, so they turned A standard into 440. This is a true story. You can look this up. So they took this lower note, which was really an A flat, which is what was concert pitch, right? And they turned it up to A 440. A became 440. And we've been playing music like that ever since, everywhere in the world. I don't know how the hell that happened, how that choice, well, it came out of Europe. Europe accepted it. This is before the war, right? And so it became the standard in a very short amount of time. And pitchforks began being tuned to 440, and pitch whistles and all the different ways they had of finding A440. They began building all the equipment that you'd need to do that, tuning forks and whistles and whatever, even harmonicas got moved up to 440. This all happened in the 30s, early 30s, and so that's what happened. And so I decided to make a fiddle record a couple of years ago, and I decided I'm going to tune the fiddle down to A flat because I like it. I've always liked the sound of a fiddle lower than standard. It just sounds better to me. And that particular show that you saw was the very first time that I've ever done that live, where I had and Kim and Skip were blown away by how good it sounded. If you could have been here in the room like that, and tuning down that half step just makes everything resonate better and be more pleasant. And like there's another place you find it a lot is in Nashville. Guitar players for years tuned their guitars to A flat, 1 fret low. Sometimes a whole tone, 2 frets low. Because it was easier to work with when you're dealing with horns and stuff in the flat keys, and plus men would write a half tone or a full tone low to get a full octave below a woman they were writing for, right? So there's all these reasons why it was done, but it's just not done in the mainstream anymore. And I love it. I don't think I will ever record the violin for if I'm going to make a violin recording, I'm not going to use 440. I won't ever do it again because everything just sounds better at around it's around 430 something, right? It's down. It's actually a little flatter than concert pitch used to be. So yeah, that's the reason. And I did a lot of research on it. I was very curious. I heard a rumor, that's why it was done, and sure enough, I looked it up, and it really was why it was done. The Nazis changed concert pitch to 440 because they thought it was more frightening. Seriously, it's crazy, eh? But that's true. I mean, think of Scotland. Scotland's 440 is a half tone high. Pipes are tuned in B flat, right? Not A. So that's weird, right? And again, that extra half step makes the pipe sound more frightening, more shrill, they carry further, right? So yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
We have one more question you have to answer before we get to the
Yes,
trivia.
we have a question. We have the prize coming up.
Another super chat question.
All right.
Will the mugs be available for sale at some point?
Well, we were talking about that earlier. We'd like to. I'm just not sure how we'd ship them, or what we could charge for them. We'll have to just figure that out. They are nice, and I'm also going to have some of these. We also got some of these really cool stickers that are going to go out to the store. Our partners that we work with. So if you go to G&G Music or Fantasy Music or any of those things, you'll be able to get a little sticker there.
They said ship it in a box.
Or yeah, you'll get one. You'll get you in your if you get a mug. We'll you know what? We're probably going to end up having to sell these things. So yeah, we'll figure it out. We have to figure it out. I just want it to be cost effective for you guys. You know, I don't want you to have to pay $40 for a mug because it costs so much to ship it and all that stuff. So we're trying to figure that out. So yes, there's a vast possibility we might sell these because they are cool and they hold
different colors too.
They hold whiskey really well, so it's good.
Or coffee, whatever you want to throw away swing.
Whiskey is good. Anyhow, Scotch actually. Sorry, it's not whiskey. All right, so we have a question, and the prizes tonight are really, really cool. We have 2 prizes now, and this will be going forward from now on String Theory. Whoever gets the question right, they'll be the first 2 people to get it right. There's each going to get a prize. One of the prizes will be from Fantasy, and one will be from G&G, and they'll be different every week, and as they usually are. So tonight, the first person to get the question right will get the normal from G&G Music up in Antigonish. Go see Glenn Gotel. You'll get the Levy's custom leather strap with a G&G logo on it, a set of strings of your choice, and a winder. And this week, the special with Glenn is really cool. He's got a beautiful Lakewood guitar up there. The same model that Matt Anderson uses. And this is for anybody. I mean, we're putting it in the prize, but it's for anybody who wants to take advantage of it. $500 off that Lakewood. And that's a wicked, wicked deal. And it's a killer guitar. So there's that. And, of course, he's real shy of Boucher's right now. But he also is carrying Recording King and all that stuff. So that's good. So that'll be the first prize. The next person that gets the question right will get prize package number 2, which comes from Fantasy Music in Halifax on Spring Garden Road. They are going to give $25 gift certificate off anything in the store. You get a free Yamaha Red Label T-shirt, which is beautiful. Me and Ginger both have one, and yeah, there you go. And they're also carrying Boucher and Recording King, all the Yamahas, the red labels, they're just carrying some beautiful Yamaha guitars. I just reviewed one this week. And so there you go. So this is, I don't know how hard this will be. Probably it's going to come fast. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people really would know this. I say that now, but I know I'm in shit. They're going to get it right away. Okay. See, how can I do this quick? All right. We all love guitars, and we love many different kinds of guitars. 2 of the oldest companies in the world that designed Dreadnought guitars and slope shoulder guitars, flat tops basically, were Martin, of course, and Gibson. They were both started by some single men by themselves. One man started both those companies, each company. So what was the first name of the man who started Gibson? What was Gibson's first name? Let's see how long this takes.
Orville?
Orville. Who's that?
So the first one was Big Fuzz Tone.
Oh, Big Fuzz Tone.
And second was Glenn Williams.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, Big Fuzz Tone, you're getting the G&G package. The strap, Levy's leather strap, the G&G logo, strings, winder. And if you want, you can take advantage of that $500 off that Lakewood, and anybody else is listening can call up for that too if you want to give a shot at it. It's a beautiful guitar. So Big Fuzz Tone, you're going to send me an email right now to jpcormier38@gmail.com. I will send you over to Glenn. Glenn ships anywhere in the world. And what was the other one? Glenn Williams?
Yeah.
Glenn Williams. You won the Fantasy Music package, which is $25 off of anything in the store there at Fantasy Music, which is really good, especially if you buy a Recording King, because they're not very expensive to begin with. You might actually get a few treats from Steve, too, when you go down. You never know. Just go in, get your $25 certificate, your free Yamaha Red Label T-shirt, which are super cool.
We should give him some stickers.
And yes, we will get these stickers out to those stores eventually. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. We have to go do. We're going to go do some live string theory from both places over the next month. So, Glenn Williams, send me an email right now at jpcormier38@gmail.com. I will ship your information and name, mention winning the contest, put Orville Gibson. Ship you off to Stevens down at Fantasy Music. And there's our 2 winners. I was thinking that wouldn't take long, but you just never know.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people even think about that, but
A lot of people got it after those 2.
yeah. Well, there is Wiki though too.
But it came fast and furious.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long. Some people would know it, and some people just look it up. But that's the the way of the internet. So there you go, folks. There's another episode of String Theory for you, and we really appreciate you being with us every Wednesday night here on YouTube, live on YouTube. And don't forget, if you're check the dates on this to make sure you're not seeing this late. But in 2 more days, there's a big live show happening this Friday night here in the studio with me and Ray Legier, live from the floor. So if you're
Laying on the floor?
we're going to just lay on the floor, play the guitar, and spit in the air. It's going to be us. So, yeah. So there you go. It's a pleasure to be with you every week here. And good questions and great people. And thanks to Cam McMaster and all of our regulars, Tim in India, and what was the other one? My other favorite there, Acoustic Guitar Canada, right? That's what they're called. Mm-hmm. Jesus, I'm having a brain fart. That's nothing new. But yeah, so there you go. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you again soon. Hang in there. Take care.